Hey everyone, welcome back to the channel. Today we are looking at the RC4-wheel drive BFGoodrich All-Terrain K02 tire. Arguably one of the most recognizable and popular all-terrain tires of all time in the one-to-one world. You don't see a whole lot of this tire being made in the aftermarket. RC4-wheel drives had it for a while. Axial made one back in the day, and then Proline has one, and I think they may have just come out with a Class 1 version of it. But it's kind of shocking that you don't see it a whole lot in the scale crawler world. And so today we're going to discover if there's a reason for that. The RC4-wheel drive tire coming in at a full Class 2 size, 4.72 inches high. Of course, let's go below, let's take the lower line. So driver tire below the crack. This is the more difficult line. A little bit of side slip, nothing terrible yet. Now we're seeing a lot more slide as we get steeper. I need that rear to keep sliding and the front to stick. I'm going to have to turn up a little early. Usually the line that the front tire is coming up on now, I like to wait until afterwards to turn up, but I'm going to have to turn up now. And we straighten out as we go over it to avoid getting caught in it, and then we're going to have to do slow speed to go over this line. Come on, don't fall in there. There we go. So we are able to take the steeper of the side hill lines. Foams from the factory are typical RC four-wheel drive, way too stiff. Inside the all-terrain TAs today, we have Three Brothers 3D printed inserts, dual stage inserts, of course. Passenger front off the ground. Gonna have to just stay in it. I don't really have another option right now. Slow, 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 slow. Low throttle. Okay, now we're going to try to set that front end back down. There we go. And pivot. That's pretty good side hilling performance, especially from a tire with this lug design. Of course, being modeled after the real deal, we have tightly spaced lugs. Not a lot of spacing between the lugs, and a lot of times on tires like this, especially on a steep side hill, you see them just slide sideways excessively because it's almost acting as it's just a solid piece of rubber. The RC four-wheel drive version of this tire comes with the X2S3 compound. So it's not their super soft and sticky compound. But, oh no. Okay. I hate rolling off the top of this obstacle. So, S3 compound does pretty well out here on the sandstone, but some people who crawl on less high grip surface say that it doesn't grip very well for them, but typically S3 is pretty good here. So we should really be able to test the lug of this tire today. Side hill performance pretty good. That rollout up top, you know, happens. Our normal side hill lines, we were able to do really well. Getting off the obstacle here, we've been rolling out a lot lately. Need to take it nice and slow. It's very, very uneven right here. And so what happens is we'll get a lot of rollouts here. If the tire slides at all. Front sliding a little bit. Let's see if we can settle it back down. Sometimes slow is the answer, but sometimes slow actually hurts you because it gives you more time for something to go wrong. But there we go. Able to gracefully exit with the, what are we going to call these? Let's just say K02. They got a long name. RC four-wheel drive BFGoodrich All-Terrain TA K02. We'll just call them K02s. K02s are one of the more expensive tires in RC4WD Drive's lineup. Coming in at about $62 a pair. And normally, that's pretty upper echelon of what we like paying. But for me at least, I care more about how a tire performs than anything else. We'll take price into account, but at the end of the day, I'm not comparing tires against each other. I'm comparing it to itself, seeing how it stacks on its own merit. So price is a small consideration for me, unless it's ridiculous. Pretty easily able to get up here, but we did take the slightly easier line on the edge of that. But that's pretty good performance. The K02 is an attractive tire. And so far, here on Sandstone anyway, seems to be a good performing tire. You know, scale tires, we always kind of make sacrifices with scale tires. They typically aren't going to perform as well as something that is designed more specifically for our RC cars to rock crawl. Maybe try not driving right into the edge of that rock. But it's always nice when we get a scale tire that also performs pretty well, because it sure is fun running a scale tire, especially on a scale rig. But as we've talked about, a lot of times when you go with scale tires, you're making sacrifices somewhere else. As of now, we have yet to see what any of those sacrifices might be with the K02. Took that line a little bit incorrectly. Let's reset that, because I'm pretty sure I didn't notice any slip. I think that was my driving. Let's be sure. Turn in right as the rear come over. Yeah, well, a little bit of slip there at the end. So yeah, that's tire. It's a little bit, man, it just slips right there at the end. The front slides. We're just getting worse and worse. Now I'm in a predicament. Never gotten this low on the rock before. It's going to slide off. I can't go forward because I'll just drive the front of the truck into that rock. I wonder. Oh, that's gonna make the rear slide off. I'm just gonna rescue it. So what we'll do is turn in earlier, and we still slide too much. Okay. Well, just as I was saying, we haven't found any weak points in the K02s. We find a weak point in the K02. There we go. That's weird. That was actually really good. So that obstacle kind of tests downward side hill positionability and steering. That's not enough to really say anything for sure, but the K02 definitely struggled there more than I have seen another tire struggle. I'm really trying to sit here and think if I was just consistently driving that wrong, and I don't think I was. I think that was tire. But then we come up here where we see quite a few tires kind of struggle, and the K02 walks right up it. Forward drive does not appear to be an issue. And I have to say, RC four-wheel drive tires have surprised me a lot lately. They don't exactly have a reputation in the crawling world for being great tires. And you know, again, out here, I can't tell you enough how important it is when you watch these videos. That was really good. Same side shuttle we're seeing on quite a few tires on that rear. Now we get the front out of whack. Let's reposition. I can't tell you how important it is to make sure you're paying attention to the environments that people are crawling in when you watch reviews of tires. You want to pay attention to the surfaces they crawl on. You want to pay attention to the temperatures that they run in. and the compounds that they're running on the tire. And when I say pay attention to tire compound, I'm talking about tires that come in more than one compound, like a lot of Proline tires. But environment is very important, especially terrain, because sandstone is a much higher grip surface than a lot of other type of rock. And where I'm at here in Kansas, and the areas that I crawl, that's good control. That's good control. Good descent control. One more test of that right here. Throttle modulation. We want to keep the rear from, yeah. I have a lot of sandstone, and fortunately sandstone gives me the luxury of kind of a tire is going to perform as well as it's able to around here. But if you have rocks that don't have as much traction in your area, the compound might be a lot different on how it performs. X2S3, for example, might not grip at all. Now this rock here is a slick rock. It is still sandstone, but the surface of it is very pocketed, and most of the like grippiness, the sand has been just, I've driven up this so much, there's no more sand left on the surface of it. It's pretty smooth. But honestly, when we consider the compound that these are in, and we consider how tightly packed that lug is, so far, even on this obstacle, the K02 is doing better than I kind of would have thought it will. Now, we're obviously, I think, going to have to resort to some wheel speed. Yeah, as soon as we try to shuttle to the right, we slip back. So let's give it a little bit of wheel speed. There we go. That's good. So a lot of times when we give a vehicle wheel speed, if it's not a decent tire, it will still just slide back and shuttle over, and we're right down here on the bottom. But that was enough wheel speed to really get us up. We did slide back a little bit because I let off the throttle too soon. Now we want to hook the side wall and use side lug to drive us up. Just like that. Squeak, squeak, squeak. Lots of squeaking in the drivetrain. Still haven't oiled it. I've been talking about it for like 8 videos now. Which for you it's going to be like, does he ever maintain his rigs? Because that's 2 months worth of videos. But for me, it's a couple hours later. Because I have been out here all weekend shooting one after the next. K02 is doing really good so far. Can't remember if we really failed anything. We had that one little side hill descent that we didn't do good on. I'm still a little unsure. I've never actually seen a tire do as bad as these did on there, and it really makes me curious whether I just was messing that up. Really good performance there. Front able to pull the rear over that diff hang up. Well, I've got a mechanical hang up on the front axle on something. There's like a stick hanging out of the ground. Good loose surface transition, and we head to the big hill. All right, see if we can get up and walk up slowly. That's optimal. Ooh, a little bit of slide back. Now I've got myself, see if I can back up without rolling out. I doubt it. Nah, my bumper's hung up. Now I got to reset the entrance. Whew, my feet are getting very sore walking around on these rocks for 2 days. Wear good shoes. If I wasn't wearing good shoes, it'd be a lot worse. God dang it. Ooh. Coming pretty far camera side. But we're not. Oh, now we're slipping back. Now we're slipping back. Now no bouncing. 3D inserts giving some bounce to us. Also, we're traction hopping a little bit. That one right there, that's traction hop. There we go. Haven't had to increase wheel speed yet. We could definitely get this with increased wheel speed. I know that for sure. But we're trying to avoid increasing. We like to do it without wheel speed if we can. All right, there we go. Now we have to increase wheel speed to get off the obstacle, or that happens. There we go. And now the trails. Testing loose surface transition and kind of just loose surface traction. Now right here, looks easy. A lot of tires struggle here. K02's not having any issues. Front links are hung. I've got high clearance links in the rear of this truck, but I can't put them in the front because it's got that element diff in the front and it doesn't have a high pinion. And so if I put high clearance links on the front, I'll be sitting on the drive shaft a lot, and I don't want to do that. All right. Gravel hill climb. I believe we're definitely going to use wheel speed here. Not too much. 40% throttle. That's pretty good, especially for an all-terrain. So, how about that? K02's given me a pretty big surprise. I didn't really go into this video with expectations at all. I didn't know what to think. I had never seen these tires run. I've never driven them before. I've never driven the Pro Lines. I've never driven the Axials. I've never driven this tire on a crawler. So I had no expectations. But I gotta say, I'm pleasantly surprised. Because typically, tires with lugs this close together just don't do that well. This did better on the side hill than I thought it would do, and it did better on steep climbs than I thought it would do. So, should you buy the K02s? I mean, if you're building a scaler, or even a semi-scaler, like this is not a scale truck, but I love the look of this tire on this truck. So if you're building a scale rig or you really want to run a scale tire and you run on high traction surfaces, I would say it's a good tire. It's a little expensive. You know, you're going to be spending $62 to $64 for the tires, and then optimally you're going to need to put different inserts in them. So you're probably going to be close to $100, but it's not bad. They did better than I thought they would, and these would hold up really well on trails. S3 is a good trail compound. It's not extremely thick carcass, but it's thick enough to where you're not likely to rip the sidewall or puncture a big hole in it. And yeah, it kind of does the things. I like it. Good job, RC4 wheel drive. Till next time, everybody. Have a good one.